Hey, everybody in YouTube land. I have a special first watch of a badge cam that we almost never post here on YouTube. But today I want to let you in on some of what we do. Welcome to a bonus, truly a bonus here on Active Self Protection. I am here with Mike Williver, and we are going to do a badge cam first watch. We post these every couple weeks in the Active Self Protection Unlimited family of apps. I wanted to bring this one to you. I think it is particularly an interesting discussion, so I'm willing to post it here as well. If you like this kind of content, that's what the app is for. We would love to have you over there, but I do hope you enjoy seeing a little bit of behind the scenes and how the sausage is made. Download the ASP Unlimited app for all the content you love from Active Self Protection and more with no interference from YouTube. No ads, no age gates, exclusive videos, seminars, classes, and more on iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Android TV. Hit the link in the description or download ASP Unlimited from your app store today. A video out of Chicago. This is a badge cam out of Chicago. I've had to watch it just a little bit, and Mike and I are going to talk this one through. Stand by for a shambolic display. I'm going to straight up say, Mike, at the beginning of this one, I watched it because the way that this one goes, just so everybody knows, I'll put the links to all the news stories and stuff in the description, as well as the videos on this one come from the Committee on Police Accountability from the city of Chicago. So the city of Chicago has this, they call it the COPA, and there's all the interviews with the officers, the police reports, the district attorney finds, and in this particular case, like 15 videos. So there's like 5 badge cams, but neither of the officers involved had a badge cam. I guess they're transit cops, and so they don't wear badge cams themselves. But we have a bystander video, and we have like a bunch of surveillance videos of the Chicago Transit Authority. And so it didn't get put out anywhere that I could just like snag it and stick it in the software kind of hole. So I had to kind of watch through it to do that. And then I set Mike up on this one because I always like watching the ones with him first watch for you guys on the first watches that are particularly filled with bad juju, because then that makes for great stuff. So, hey, Mike, welcome to the shit show.
Hi. I've actually never seen this video, so I have no idea what I'm in for. But that's part of the fun, I think, is John serves up just a poop sandwich of bad policing for me, and I get to, wince and cringe and shrug my shoulders. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I mean, sometimes we put up one that's, cops, meat-eating crime fighters getting down and ending bad guys. And we do those, on the big channel all the time, right? But I think sometimes stuff like this, it lets us it lets people kind of see how the sausage is made behind the scenes when we go, oh boy. Yeah. So, all right, well, so let me, I'm going to share my screen, and then that way, everybody, I'm going to share that sound. There's that. We're in Adobe Premiere. That's what I use. So the way that this one starts, I've made this kind of big, and you can see it's not quite a potato. This guy walking through fine. The guy behind him ends up being our kind of perp. And the news story is what happened was our homie has walked between the cars on the subway, which apparently is against the rules in the Chicago Transit Authority and is punishable by up to like $300 fine. And it's an infraction, not a crime. But of course, transit cops are paid to tell people not to do that trash, right?
Yeah, at least in part. I remember dealing with some transit guys in DC when I first started in LA, and it's a specialty brand of law enforcement. It's a non-traditional kind of law enforcement. And so, they don't tend to get a lot of hot calls. So if you're in a place like that, then if you want to be busy, then you tend to focus on things that maybe wouldn't otherwise be a big priority, like somebody walking between the cars on a subway, for example.
Well, and so I went and looked. Now, I'm not a Chicagoan, right? I've only visited Chicago one time when I was first in college to visit a girlfriend who was going to the Evanston campus of Northwestern, and we took the L into downtown. It was an experience, man. I don't know that I'd ever been on a train like that smelled so badly of bodily
Mm,
fluids.
yes. Yeah, I've
And
been to Chicago a couple
apparently,
times, and I can confirm.
so apparently, what the people of Chicago have spoken on this one is that the people that walk between cars are generally either looking for a place to take a shit. That's not a joke. People say that all the time, or a place to throw up, or they're peddling things. So they're actually on the train like as little
Yeah.
street vendors selling stuff to people.
Hmm.
And none of that sounds like something as a transit cop that I'm going to be real excited about.
No, no, absolutely not.
So yeah, okay. So let's watch what goes down here. Ready? Oh, I got to get down to this. Very good. So he's, I think he walked between cars. We don't know why. Cop comes up behind him. Hey, sir, I saw you do that thing. You got to get off here with me so that we can talk about this. We're going to get off the train. And I don't think he's super excited about that. But okay, there's another transit cop that she's already radioed to, and they're going to sit and talk to the guy.
Okay. So far, so good.
So far, so okay. All right, we're going to hook you up for whatever, an infraction that's going to cost you some dollars or whatever. And
Can I
I don't
just
know,
say right
man.
now, this guy doesn't look like he's looking for a place to poop. I'm just going to throw that out there. He looks like
Yeah, I mean,
kind
he
of a
looks like a
normal
pretty
guy.
clean cut guy.
Yeah.
But when he kind of turns away, the cop turns him back with hands. And now homie's going to pull away like he wants to get away from him. Nah, fam.
Yeah, and I was going to say I'd like to see them get anyone they're going to deal with further away from the tracks than that right off the bat. You don't want to be falling on those tracks. Just a thought. So
Yeah, if a
I,
fight,
I yeah, exactly. If a fight breaks out, you don't want to be rolling onto the tracks. So I would have liked to see them, as a matter of course, just get the person far away from there to begin with. But looks like they got him away eventually. So no harm, no
yeah,
foul.
and so far I'm like, all right, cool. Like, dude got off the train. Now, I don't know, man. I think uh, they're transit cops, so that's their job. My libertarian side said, was anybody hurt by that? No, and this is why I don't like. I want my cops to be peoples of justice, not truly law enforcement. You know what I mean? And every cop I know is they'll let people slide on stuff. Like, look, man, you're no harm, no foul. Just hey, dude, do me a favor, don't do that again.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. It's one of those things where it is a bit of a slippery slope. If you don't enforce any of the rules ever, you have chaos. Like somebody said to me once, if you don't like traffic laws being enforced, try going, and you've been there, John. Go to a country where they're not, where there's just no enforcement of traffic laws, and it's absolute bedlam. So there is a line somewhere where you're like, okay, well, at very least I want this guy. I don't want everyone walking in between cars all the time, where it's going to be chaos. And if I don't stop him, I can't stop the next guy. Whatever. I would have preferred she walk up to this guy and be like, he doesn't look like a scumbag. He doesn't look like he's not holding dope or whatever. I'm just gonna go, hey man, I saw what you did. Prefer if you don't do that. Let me see your ID. I'm going to get your name. This is your warning, so don't do it again. If you do it again, we got your name. We're going to have to write you a ticket. I don't want to have to do that, yada, yada. Something other than getting him off the train, making him late for work or wherever he's going right now. And again, I don't know where this video goes. This guy could be a mass murderer for all I know. I have no idea. But so far, I would have preferred just a friendly contact and like, hey, don't do that again, or else you're going to get a ticket, rather than getting him off the train and going through all this rigmarole over something that really isn't hurting anybody.
And I guess the argument on the other side is, hey, I want to get him off the train because I don't want to have a fight with this guy and argue with him on the train with a bunch of other people around. I'll get him on the next train. He'll be 3 minutes out or 5 minutes out or whatever. And so, hey man, I just want to chat with you. And the kind of physical altercation started when he decided, no, I'm pulling away from these guys and effing off. Well, listen, man, I think the other side of that, I do think, is if you ride that train, you know the rules. And
Right.
if you don't know the rules, you go, oh, damn it, officer. Really? I didn't realize that was illegal. I'm so sorry. I'll take,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Here's my ID. Yeah, you're right. You got me. And if they write you a ticket, they write you a ticket. And you're like, all right, cool. Thanks. Now I'm late for work too. Gosh, what a hell of a
Right.
day. So it's a both and there. And I don't think you have to like, I wish cops would jam up decent people less. I also wish that decent people would be decent and listen. I've been pulled over for a speeding ticket a few times, in my lifetime. And when you get pulled over, you don't jam up the cop for pulling you over for speeding. You go, yeah, you're right. I was. Good call. And you bet. Here's my license. Here's my registration. Here's my proof of insurance. Thank you for your time. Be safe, sir. You know,
if only that's how all the contacts went between law enforcement and the public. But yeah, I think my point was, I can certainly understand somebody watching this and being like, what are we doing? Like, I pay my taxes, so things are, you know, I can feel safe on the subway. Nothing this guy did made anybody feel particularly unsafe. I don't know how dangerous it is to walk between subway cars. If that's maybe an issue, I have no idea. I've never done it, never tried to do it. So I understand where people are like, is this really what we're paying you to do, is mess with this guy who's on his way to whatever he's on his way to, like making him late, getting him off the train. I understand both sides of it. You want the rules enforced, but you know, you want officers to use discretion and to be reasonable and not to just sort of hem up everybody who runs afoul of the rules either, if that makes any sense.
Agreed. I think we are on the same page on that. All right, cool. So maybe we'll talk about that on that stuff. All right, rock and roll. We do have sound once there's going to be a cell phone video from a bystander, because you can see him pushing him kind of up against stuff. He's trying to get away. Now it's a physical altercation. You know they're going to get him and jam him up now. Mm-hmm. Oh, tasers are out. Tasers are not going to work against a guy with a big sweater on.
Probably not.
Just ignore that. Why are you even messing with a taser?
And hey, by the way, if you're the guy filming it, I mean, first of all, you're not helping, but at least hold the camera steady, dude.
Yeah,
you know?
Please.
How bad are you at filming?
Not portrait, bro. Landscape.
Yes, please turn it.
Two guys recording. We got a guy recording. Yo, dog, we heard you like recording.
It's very meta. There's a guy recording, a guy recording.
So they got him stuffed up against the kind of wall here. Okay, all right. And he's resisting pretty good. They can't get him turned over.
Yeah, and by the way, not for nothing, but if you're going to take it to this point, if you're the officers, I need to hear a much more loud, clear verbal commands, so that A, so you'll keep breathing, and B, so people can hear that you're trying to get the guy in custody.
I think that's a great point, though, Mike, that you shared there about the fact that when you're issuing loud commands, you're breathing.
Yeah.
I don't think we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, the idea being, you know, I remember being at the range one day as an FI. You know, once in a while you just sort of have a bad day at the range. I was having a bad day at the range. I was shooting like absolute crap, and you know, I was under some moderate stress in my personal life. And I said, "Hey, man," to one of my partners, "You watch me shoot for a minute." He goes, "Sure." So he sits there and watches me put a few rounds down range from 15 yards, and he goes, "You're holding your breath." And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm not holding my breath. What are you talking about?" He goes, "No, you're holding your breath." And sure enough, that's what I was. And as soon as I could focus on my breathing, I was shooting fine. I was hitting everything right in the X-ring. Under stress, one of the reactions potentially you have is to and bear down and hold your breath. And if you do that, you're not going to be very good. Your endurance is going to suck, and your fight's going to be over a lot sooner than it otherwise might be. So verbal commands do a lot of things. One of them, it keeps you breathing. Number two, if you're delivering strikes or using a baton or a taser or whatever, I want the person a block away watching you, or the person a block away filming you, to be able to hear that you're not just hitting this person. You're not just tasing this person and going, ha, 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 ha. You're giving verbal commands and telling them what it is you want them to do. Otherwise, the person might just keep fighting. And look, we know they're resisting for a reason, but it just looks better, sounds better, and it helps you to keep breathing if you're issuing commands, rather than just being on top and focusing on getting the guy in custody. You can do both.
Yeah, so I think that's a good thing for us to kind of think about, talk about, kind of get in there on that. Let's keep after it here. He's down in there on her. What is she doing?
Oh, she's reaching for cuffs or a key, or
why has she got cuffs out already? They don't have this guy anywhere near in custody.
Yeah, and her being bent over at the waist is not a position of advantage. It's not conducive to her doing anything productive.
Did you see him trying to keep that guy from grabbing his cuffs?
Yeah.
Dude, I think we got to sit and talk about that when we're in this lesson, because I think them getting cuffs out, dude, if you get cuffs out too early, they can get turned into a weapon against you.
Yeah, absolutely. Swing at a set of handcuffs. You can, I mean, you're probably not going to kill anybody, but you're going to stun them. You're going to hurt them potentially. And cuffs, I've seen cuffs used as like brass knuckles, sort of impromptu brass knuckles as well. So the cuffs can be used as a weapon. I think what we might be seeing here is a combination of a bad environment. So that corner that they're in is not conducive to maneuvering somebody and manipulating their limbs and getting them into custody. And maybe a lack of DT, a lack of focus on arrest techniques, on handcuffing. Handcuffing is not a natural activity. It's not something that comes naturally to anybody. And it's hard to do. We say it all the time, but it bears repeating. It's hard to handcuff somebody who doesn't want to be handcuffed. All they have to do is pull their hands in front of them and just do this. And doing this, it's very hard to get somebody's hand from in front of them if they don't want to put their hand out. So I think more focus on their DT might have helped a little bit, at least in this, because the way she's standing, for example, there's no power. You can see you're bent over at the waist. You're vulnerable. You don't have a good base. You're not in a position to affect anyone's custody or not custody status. It's not effective.
Well, and you're right, 100% on her. It doesn't look like he has a whole lot of what am I going to do from this? I've got on top of this guy. What am I going to do here? And again, as a jiu-jitsu white belt, you learn top position pressure and top position control. And so, like, okay, you've got him in a mount. Now what? Okay, well, if I get a little bit of training, and it doesn't take 10 years. You don't got to get to be a black belt to start to understand, okay, I can control this guy. And even if he sticks his arms underneath him like this and he's not pulling them out, at least I have him under control and he's not flailing about getting problems. And now we can.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. It's the important thing. He's not going to be able to get up and go anywhere. A knee, we all saw the Derek Chauvin tape, and now there's new evidence and controversy or whatever. But the fact is that positioning of a knee on someone's neck and shoulder is never a good idea, regardless of how this whole thing shakes out. Let me say that first. Second of all, a knee with the direct pressure of the kneecap straight down, where you straighten your body out and press down on a shoulder blade, it's very hard. Like my daughter, who weighs less than half as much as I do, can keep me on the ground like that. So get the person in a position where they can't get up. And then you can go, okay, I'm here now. I've got him. He's not going anywhere. Let me assess and see what I need to do next. Instead of this constant struggle, it's just seemed ineffective. But, it's a first watch, so who knows?
Well, and I've said too, man, like, look, so one of the first things I learned, you get a guy who, if he rolls over on his belly and sticks his arm underneath him, which he's going to, so when you're rolling jiu-jitsu, right, he's going to want to turtle up because he doesn't want you to get his arms and legs. So if I can get my feet inside his legs and press out, so we're hip to hip, right? So I've got my hips on his hips, and I flatten him out like that and just lay my chest on his back. And he's sitting under like this. Dude, when you've got your hips on over and above his hips and you've got yourself on him, chest to back, this stuff under here hurts like crap.
Yeah, and you can do it all day. You're not wearing yourself out.
And I'm not wearing me out. I'm just going to lay on that. You're going to have a hard time. And what is he going to do? He's going to push these arms out to get him to feel like he can get himself some space for his chest. Cool, man. Now I've got those arms. Hey, come here, buddy. Let's get you in custody so that we can stop this joint. Now, again, that takes a little bit of work, takes a little bit of understanding. So, but not a ton. All right, let's do it.
You have to love all the Chicagoans just walking right.
I know, right? I'm like, come on, somebody stop. Like, officer, do you need some help?
No.
Nah. This is like, man, fuck them. I gotta go. I got some Chicago beef I gotta eat.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a Chicago accent. It's probably the worst Chicago accent.
Get your fucking hand down!
So now they're fighting over the cuffs.
Let my cuffs go.
So, I mean, John, you tell me, this is not a good place for a drive stun. Would that take the stroke off the taser? Yeah.
I think it's a great place for a drive stun. Okay, you don't have two barbs in him, but that, again, if I'm like, hey, man, I'm just going to use this on the big meaty part of his leg. I mean, just super painful, man.
Lower back and just keep repeating, like the occasional verbal command is not doing it. Like keep repeating, let go of my cuffs, show me your hands or whatever. That they're not doing that. I'm not sure. I can't tell from this angle what technique, if any, they're applying to try to get him to comply.
I don't see much technique at all. It looks to me right here like they're fighting over the cuffs. Like the guy has a hold of his cuffs, and now he's fighting over the cuffs.
So her right or left knee could go right down onto that guy's forearm right now, and he ain't moving anywhere with those cuffs. So
yeah, what I see here is she's completely disengaged physically. Now, she might go, well, wait a minute, I don't have any place to engage, but she's not communicating with her partner. So
Right.
if you don't communicate, all right, I got his legs, I'm going to take this leg and crank him over so that he gets him over on his belly. And you know, I'm gonna use this leg because it's gonna hurt. He's gonna feel it in his knee, and it's gonna push him over that way. You know, or at the very least, I'm gonna grab him by the waist and turn him this way. You know, whatever. You got to communicate. If you don't communicate, crap like this happens.
Yeah.
Hear like accordion in the background.
Yeah. This is not going well.
No. And look at this guy. He's half getting away. And you're like, I mean, he bears some responsibility here too. Dude, like, are you
course,
going
yeah.
to take it this high? You moron? Oh my gosh. Grab that arm and start dragging his butt places.
So does he have one cuff on, or is he just holding?
No,
his
so the
cuff?
guy's
he's
got it in
holding
his
him. Okay.
hand, and the officer has it in his other hand. So they are fighting for that cuff.
Yeah.
Now look, oh shoot, she's got her OC out.
Oh.
And the cop says shoot him, but look, dude, she has no idea how to use that OC spray. Oh wait, it's not working.
Give me your hand. Give me your hand.
Did the spray even work?
Well, there it did. Oh my God. Did you see what she did?
No, I missed the last part.
So what went down right there was she couldn't get the safety off on it, and she's using it like this, first of all, right? Instead of like this, instead of with the thumb, she's using it with her finger.
Uh-huh.
Wrong, which tells me she's never been trained, or at least didn't retain the training with that OC spray. And then she turned it over sideways like this. I don't know exactly what canister she's using, but depending on the canister, now I know the Palm Mark III is inversion proof. You can run it inverted like that, but a lot of canisters you can't. And so you got to have it upright for it to work. Otherwise, it's just spraying propellant out and not actual product. So it depends on which unit. Like I say, the Mark III does. The regular units, if you're doing them this way, sometimes they won't.
Right.
And
yeah,
so,
I know the stuff we had for a long time had a trigger, like
this? No,
trigger.
I think hers is on this, but she's doing it like this. And then she turned it sideways. And finally, when some came out, it was pointed right at the side of her partner's face.
Good. Helpful.
So that's she good. OC sprayed her partner. Listen, now I know, because I've read the reports, it's going to escalate from here. And one of her things is going to be, well, my partner was OC sprayed, so he's out of the fight. That's your fault.
Yeah.
That's your fault.
Not a good look.
And I mean, OC spray only takes a couple hours to learn to use effectively. And for everyone watching this, if you go on the Active Self-Protection Extra YouTube channel, Chuck Haggard's OC spray course from the Asp National Conference, the entire thing is on that. The entire thing.
Yeah, but you're going to charge us for it, aren't you, John? Because all you care about is money.
I mean, no. And also, what the heck? So
yeah.
What a mess, dude. That to me says that this female officer, if she doesn't even retain, so what I see here, I see an officer who has fear of getting into a physical altercation. She's not communicating with her partner. Her OC spray use is shambolic.
It's non-existent.
And wrong technique on something as simple as that, which tells me she's never, I don't know how long she's been an officer, but she's never used it before. And I see they're fighting over cuffs right now and not kicking that guy's ass when he has a hold of the handcuff.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and none of it is particularly good. And I can already hear the female cop haters yelling and screaming. Trust me, I've seen plenty of male cops who were just as terrible at their job.
Well,
so
he's not doing a whole lot better.
No, he's not.
He's not. I mean, he's engaged in the fight. I'll give him.
Yeah.
Okay, he's engaged in the physical fight with this guy. Cool. Not very well. He's not doing it to gain advantage.
It occurs to me there's no plan, there's no communication, as you pointed out rightly, John. There's no communication between them as to what maybe they can do to get this situation under control. And they're both just sort of there. She finally got the pepper spray out, but then couldn't use it. I don't know what it is the male officer is doing to affect the arrest, but it seems like he's just laying there giving commands and holding on to one of the two cuffs. So it's an absolute mess.
Well, and did you hear, Mike, that she gets the OC spray out and he said, shoot him?
Yeah, that's not a great use of words.
Now,
because because she could have perceived that as there's a knife or a gun that he has that I don't see. That's why he's telling me to shoot him. And she could have gotten her gun and potentially shot the guy, which you'd
yep.
hate to see. But
Now, I think he means get him with the OC spray. You know what I mean?
Right. But shoot him is a very specific thing when you're talking to someone who, by the way, has a firearm on them. So
right.
Words have meaning.
All right, here we go. Oh boy, our homie's getting up. Crawled himself to a spot where he can use this to get up off the ground.
Stop resisting. Stop resisting.
Is that an escalator?
Stop
Yeah.
resisting.
Okay.
Stop. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Stop.
Stop resisting.
Stop.
Dude's trying to collect up his jacket. He's trailing 2 tasers.
Sir, push the button.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
Whoa, what just happened?
She's got a gun out.
Okay. What does he have? What is she yelling at him for? I don't understand.
She's just
Does he
telling
have
him to
anything?
stop resisting.
Okay.
So the tasers didn't work. The OC spray didn't work. He worked his way back up. She's got a gun out. Now, okay.
Not okay.
I mean,
no, why do we have a gun out?
As a police officer, if you need to take someone at gunpoint, you need to be like, hey, drop that or whatever. But it's a bluff.
No, it's 100% a bluff. And again, I haven't seen this video. I don't know what happens next, but I can almost guarantee you that's not going to dissuade him. He's not going to think, oh, she's going to shoot me without without probable cause, without a good reason. That the gun is, you've now introduced a gun in a situation where a gun shouldn't be, not yet anyway, not unless and until, he's over top pummeling you or he produces a firearm himself or some other deadly weapon. I don't know why the gun's coming out, but I hate it already.
I'm just saying, I know cops get guns in hand all the time when they think that it's imminent that they may need to use it. Okay, fine. Right? And they give people commands at gunpoint all the time. But dude, we also train them really well to know, hey, listen, there's a difference between when you can command with a gun and when you can shoot it.
Right.
And here, you're in a physical fight with a guy who I haven't seen any weapons. Now, your other means of getting him into custody have not worked. So the tasers are wrong. The OC spray has proven maybe half effective. Like the guy seems like he's like, kind of like this, but he's still combative. But that doesn't mean you can shoot him. We've said this on the channel so many times, Mike. I know we're going to take just a huge ration of shit for the fact that we're going to have to say, listen, just because your OC spray didn't work doesn't mean you can shoot him.
Right.
Well, I got to get him into custody and that force didn't work, so I got to go to the next higher force. No, you got to get the regular force is the force that's appropriate here because proportionality matters for cops too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Again, I said it before, I'll say it again. I have no idea why her gun is out right now, unless she saw something we didn't, unless he produced a weapon or her partner was so badly injured that she was about to be overpowered or something, anything. I mean, but right now it's just, I don't know how to get this guy into custody, so I'm going to pull my gun, that's not how any of this works.
And her partner has taken an exposure to OC spray because she was stupid.
Right.
So that's a thing. But she's got a gun out right here. You can see it. And that, given all of the rest of her unprofessionalism and the rest of her lack of ability, this worries the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Put your fucking hands there. Put your fucking hands in your hands. Give him your hands.
So the OC's got him. Oh, fuck.
What just happened?
She just shot him. Fuck.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to rewind that. Maybe I'm hoping I missed something.
Let's rewind it and watch it again.
Like maybe he was trying to take her gun away or something. I missed something.
No, look at him. He's like, the OC spray's having its effect. Look at him. He's rubbing his eyes. He can't see. Sitting there. Dude.
Wow.
What do you want to bet that's a negligent discharge?
Yeah, no, almost certainly. Either that or she's just the worst cop I've ever seen and was trying to justify it by he was coming at me or something. I'm trying to think of any possible reason she could have thought that was an appropriate thing to do. I got nothing. I can't believe what I just saw. I'm genuinely shocked.
She shot him in the leg. I know that much.
At which point he turns to run away, and I can't blame him.
So she's not up here at center mass. Oh, I identify a threat, sir. You know, you stop hitting my partner. She's down here like this, and the gun goes off. That smells to me like a negligent discharge.
Yeah, which for which there's no excuse. There's absolutely no excuse for that.
I think we should maybe, if it is a negligent discharge, then I think we need to talk about this is why your low ready position has to be off the target, not at his legs, off the target. Either down at below his feet or off to the side in a direction of lower consequence. Because you have an MD.
But I don't want to stress that too much. That is important. But I really want to stress, keep your goddamn finger off the trigger until you have a reason to shoot. What are you doing? Like, how was that? How did that happen?
Yeah,
it's inexcusable. Assuming, and again, we don't know if it was a negligent discharge or she thought she had some right to shoot the guy. Either way, it's not good. It's very, very bad. And it's not often I'm shocked, John, but I'm genuinely shocked at what I just saw. I cannot believe what I just saw. But again, you know, I know we get plenty of people who are like, well, what about the bad guy? He did this and this. Yeah, he did. But the point is, you're a police officer. You're trained, and you're supposed to know what you're doing to the point where you can get an uncooperative person in custody, especially 2 against 1. Man, what a mess.
I guess my thought is, I mean, he's doing this, you know, he's rubbing at his face. He's like, he's kind of shambling, you know, around next to the officer. If the male officer had reached up and drilled him in the face with a closed fist, I might have been frustrated that was too much for a guy who's like this. Now, I probably would have been like, hey, after the fight that they've had, you got to get this guy in custody, drill him in the face. Okay, maybe.
No, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I absolutely would have closed fist punched that guy in the face at that point. I don't know. They're standing around like he's collecting up the wire from his thing or whatever.
Okay.
Single leg takedown. You don't have to punch him in the face, but do something. Okay, now he's disoriented by the OC. You have an opportunity to get him in custody. And the other cop, and I can't tell if he's under the effect of the OC himself, but he's sort of standing there really casually. Or did I missee something?
No, apparently he was under the effects of OC. But again,
okay,
dude, if you're an officer, you have taken an exposure to OC.
Yes,
you have been taught to fight through that OC exposure. You have been taught what the dealio is here. Mm-hmm. You got to revert to your training and do the thing and go, okay, I'm going to peel my eye open and see this guy. And at the very least, he's got it as bad as I do. And he doesn't probably know how to deal with that. And so I'm winning, even though this sucks.
Right. Yeah, I'll have a lot to add to that.
And having taken an OC exposure, yeah, it sucks. Mm-hmm. Do I think that the average so every cop needs to take an OC exposure for just this kind of thing? Number 2, though, I think, does the average private citizen who carries need to take an OC spray exposure? Man, I don't know. I think it's helpful. I think I appreciate having had one because I know what the effects are. I carry it every day. So I'm not scared of an overspray.
Yeah. And one of the fun facts people don't realize is, as a police officer, there's a reason that we will tase each other and spray each other in training, which is that's something that could reasonably happen to you in the field. And you have to know what it feels like. You have to know how your body deals with it. With me, I was an instructor, pepper spray and collapsible steel baton instructor. I got hit 9 times in the train the trainer class. 9. That's this many. And it sucked every single time. But one of the reasons is if I'm alone in the field and I get a bad guy gets my spray away from me or produces his own and sprays me in the face, I know, can I fight through this? Can I not? What level of force am I justified in using at this point, knowing how my body responds physiologically to the effects of the oleoresin capsicum spray? I can articulate that in a report. I can articulate that in court. Whereas if I've never had been exposed to it, well, it would be theory, wouldn't it? It would be conjecture. Well, I think it might do this. Well, that's not good enough. But you've been exposed in training. You can say, this, I know how it affects me, and that's why I did, and then fill in the blank with the next action that you took because I know how it affects me. And the officer maybe rewinded a little. I don't know. He didn't appear to be like really like hating life in that moment. It looked like maybe he was mildly irritated.
Take a look. We'll bring it back. Let's run it back again. He looks like he's not pawing at his eyes. Look at him. He looks okay. He's like trying to put his... that other officer, it says, oh, he was the criminal stuff says he was incapacitated because of the OC exposure. I don't see it in the video. He is seemingly okay.
Right. If he has any effects from the OC, it's very minimal, and it's not something he can't fight through. So that sounds like that was, and it looks like he's sort of collecting up the taser barbed wires or something. I don't know. I don't understand what's happening.
I don't either.
This whole thing, John Singh is a royal cluster, and it doesn't look like anything I was ever trained to do, any of this, or how to respond to something. So this is
I kind of feel like
to even comment on it.
At this point, it has risen from a goat rodeo, like from like a goat rope to a goat rodeo, probably all the way to a level of a goat fuck at this point.
Yeah, and I think there, you will hear, if you're in law enforcement, you will hear it discussed, hey, when can a smaller female officer, for example, do X versus a guy like me who's 6'2", 250? When does she feel like I'm in such grave danger that I can resort to lethal force perhaps before a guy Mike size or whatever, like if I'm gonna, knock down Draggart or whatever. And there is some consideration to be made for that, but it's not like she didn't have an opportunity to do her job effectively. She's just bad at her job. She's bad at everything to do with arrest techniques. And I don't know how much training Chicago Transit Police get, but if she's any indication, it's not nearly enough. She needed to be doing a lot of other things other than what she was doing. And having the gun out and screaming the F word. Look, if you having him on the ground, punching him and trying to tase him and spray him didn't get the point across, you showing him your gun and cursing and expecting him to be afraid and stop doing what he's doing is a fantasy. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. I think, dude, I think we need to play up in the analysis. I think that might be an ND. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Now he heads up the escalator.
He's like, yeah, I got to go. I don't want to get shot anymore.
Narrator, he would get shot somewhere.
Wait.
Now watch.
Wait.
He comes up the escalator here, and she shoots him in the ass. And then he finally stops running because he can't anymore because he's shot in the leg and in the ass. And as Forrest Gump says, in the Army, they call that $1 million wound, but the Army must have kept that money because I ain't never seen it.
Is she in jail, I hope? I genuinely hope she's in jail.
All right, so here's the payoff. News stories, description. This guy, so the dude who is now shot twice was originally charged with like assault on a cop and like one other thing. Those charges were dropped inside of 2 days. District attorney looked at him and were like, nah, I'm done with that. At the request of the chief of police. The chief of police went to the district attorney and said, drop this guy's charges. So they did. He then, after their internal investigation, the chief of police recommended both the officers be fired for their behavior. The female officer was charged with attempted murder and aggravated assault and malfeasance of duty. And that went to a bench trial. So the interesting thing is the defendant in a criminal trial, you get to choose whether you want a jury or you want a bench trial. Right. She chose a bench trial and was found not guilty of those charges. The judge in the case, I haven't got to read, there was apparently like a 20-page decision that the judge put out. Okay. And in the news stories that I've linked in the description, one of the things that he said was that the victim here, right, the guy that was shot twice, who, again, is an asshole in his own right.
Sure.
And has his own problems. The judge said that victim was completely non-credible and perjured himself on the stand about some things that he said happened that didn't happen. And so because he was completely non-credible, the judge found the female officer not guilty. Then last year around this time, there's a board for Chicago that decides. So the captain recommended they get fired, but that goes to a board that decides what they do. The female officer, rather than face the board, resigned her position and is no longer a police officer. The male officer was suspended for a year without pay.
And was this video available to the judge who made this decision?
I apparently
That's the
everything.
question, isn't it?
Yeah, because that's a hell of a question. Now, of course, homie here, you know how in Forrest Gump they call that $1 million wound,
Mm-hmm.
and Forrest says the army must keep that money. That lawsuit has not been finalized yet, but I'm gonna guess that's more like a $3 to $4 million wound.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we said this before in this space a number of times. What's important now? Why am I doing what I'm doing? This whole stop, if you'll recall, ladies and gentlemen, was based on the fact that he walked between two subway cars. Let that sink in for a moment. That's why we started this contact in the first place.
Well, and you know, dude, we're gonna have to talk, of course, Tennessee versus Garner, because she shot him fleeing. He's unless you say, well, okay, he assaulted a police officer, and assault on a police officer, I'm not sure in Illinois if that amounts automatically to a felony. Or, you know, like in Arizona, any assault on a law enforcement officer is an aggravated assault, which is a felony.
Right.
Okay, now I'm at least a fleeing felon, but is that fleeing felon an imminent danger to the officer or an imminent danger of death or great bodily harm to the community? I don't think you can say that in this guy's case.
I can answer that. Nothing in this video has demonstrated to me that he is a danger to the community other than being a guy who resists the detention by these two officers.
Yeah.
And
I don't
know,
see him punching the
assault
officers, biting at him. I don't see him.
The assault on an officer is questionable. I think resisting is clearly resisting arrest, but I don't know what happened in that dog pile. Maybe he did punch him or bite him or something, but I didn't see any actually assaultive behavior. I saw very aggressive resistance, but and again, I think people hear us saying these words, Don, and they're like, well, they're soft on crime, or they don't care. The bad guy made a decision. We acknowledge the bad guy made, the bad guy, quote unquote, the guy who walked between two train cars, the bad guy. He made decisions that led to a series of events, but nothing that he did rated him being shot. That's the bottom line. Yeah, he resisted arrest, but as a police officer, you're trained to deal with that. You're trained to counteract his resistance and get him into custody. And honestly, if they could have gotten just a good kneecap on this guy, or hips, as you said, and just held him down and just take a minute, clear your head, get more people there if you need to. You have all the time in the world. Keep him where he is, get more help, and get him into custody. But she's officially the worst cop I've ever seen. And that is worse than the NYPD officer who shot her partner, actually. Well, we think she shot her partner.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was in the material. But she's the worst cop I've ever seen. I'm trying to think of someone I've seen who's worse, like the Las Vegas cop who ND'd into the ground next to a bad guy at the end of a pursuit. But she just shot this guy, whether it was intentional. The second one was definitely intentional.
Yeah,
and that's just insane. It's just attempted murder.
So now, I guess though, Mike, man, let's talk about that a second, because if that was clearly she shot him a second time intentionally. Now, does that mean? I think if the first one was a negligent discharge into the guy, she would be far less likely to purposefully shoot him a second time, because she would know, I shot a guy I shouldn't have shot.
Yeah, you would think so.
So that means that a higher.
So if she had two NDs in a row, she is the worst shooter of all time and shouldn't be allowed in the same country that has a firearm in it. And I just don't. The second one had to be intentional. It had to be.
It had to be. Which means probably the first one was intentional too.
Yeah, I thought it was. I think she thought, well, I think she probably thought I can say that my partner was disabled and he was coming towards me and I'm out of breath and I'm out of shape and I'm out of ideas. So I'm going to shoot this guy and hopefully that'll get him to stop doing what he's doing. It's probably what happened, but I can't get inside of her head. I don't know for sure. But
I'm out of breath and I'm out of
absolute shit show.
And now here's the thing. If she admits that was an ND, now her qualified immunity is not going to hold.
Right.
I don't think either of their qualified immunity is going to hold anyways, because again, they're acting in ways that their department training, they were recommended to be fired because they didn't act in the ways that they were trained to act. So therefore the city's not responsible for their actions.
Yeah.
They're going to be held liable for the actions.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think something you said there deserves repeating, which is the department recommended that that at least she be terminated. In a city like Chicago that has this ridiculously strong police union, the fact that they recommended termination kind of speaks for itself. That's a pretty unusual event in a big department like that. In a city like Chicago that has a crazy strong police union, where they know they're going to get resistance. To recommend termination means they have their ducks in a row and they're like, yeah, this person is not good at policing. They need to not be a cop anymore. So
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes.
I do think a lot of people, they don't think about the fact that police officers have very strong employee unions, and those unions prevent firing bad cops. I mean, that's what they do. I got a lot of cop buddies, and I know you do too. You haven't done the job for 30 years. That they decry, they hate the damn unions too, because they coddle and allow really crappy cops. Now, I think the union reps do that because they're like, look, man, if I don't defend this crappy cop, then when my good cop gets accused, then I can't defend them as effectively. So I'm going to put up with the crappy one in order to have the good one.
And that's no way to run an agency. It's just not.
It's just not. But I mean, obviously the Chicago Police Union is going to be a very powerful lobbying force. And, I think we tend to think of cops as kind of right-leaning people. Obviously they're authoritarian and, that's what they do. But police unions are the opposite of that, in their political persuasions, because they're a union like any other union. So they're going to kind of lean towards that.
Don't think for a minute. City council persons and mayors and governors don't want to be able to have that poster that says the police support John Smith for governor, John Smith for mayor, or Jane Doe for city council or whatever. That's an important, endorsement for them. So yeah, they will overlook some stuff from time to time, especially in a big city like Chicago. Hey, we got people in Chicago we love. All right, I see you out there, John. I know you're watching. So yeah, I think it's important to recognize the political reality is well. And I don't know if their judges are similarly situated where they're elected or not. I have no idea, but unreal. I cannot believe this woman is not in prison, I should say, for attempted murder, because that's what I just saw. And again, we got to compartmentalize. What the guy did was dumb and wrong and stupid, and you shouldn't resist arrest. And the police stop you, you should cooperate and take up your case later in court or with an attorney or whatever. But what he did, passively resisting, shouldn't have gotten him shot. Bottom line. Terrible.
Yeah, I agree, man. And so I think obviously we're going to focus a little bit at the beginning on, hey, man, if you break an ordinance like that, just take your ticket. Like, you might say, hey, I'm going to do the thing, but you're never going to win on the street. You're not going to win a fight against a cop on the street. So don't do it. Just take the
only
ticket,
temporarily will you win on the street. Yeah.
And this guy didn't win on the street. He ends up shot twice. Holy crap. So don't put yourself in that stupid position. Cops, good God, the defensive tactics and communication failures. And then what absolutely looked to be criminal behavior here in the two shots. Both of those shots were not justified in any capacity. And I don't know what that judge maybe because they got the judge they wanted, that they knew was the friendliest judge towards cops in the history of history, that they got a bench trial and the judge said, I don't care what you did, as long as you didn't put the gun inside his mouth and press the trigger after telling him that, he was a dirtbag, then I'm not going to convict you of crimes.
Okay. I would never cast any aspersions on any elected official in a city that is as upright as Chicago, that has zero political corruption and zero, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And Chicago is they rise above it every day.
I mean, of course, this city has not been known for the last 150 years as a hotbed of corruption.
No,
never. And we'd never disparage an elected official because, of course, they're all upstanding, fine individuals who are doing exactly what the will of the people is at all times, especially in a place like Chicago that hasn't had organized crime and problems of corruption in government for 100 years. So, but if we were in a different city that had problems like that, we might consider those issues.
Indeed.
All right. Well, that's what we'll do on this badge cam. Hey, everybody, I really appreciate you being here. And let me know in the comments what you think. And if there was any points in this one as we go to do the analysis that you think we missed. Mike, man, good talk, bro.
Always a pleasure.